inside of your...
When we are talking about the Constitution, Sky, this BBC thing, there is no limitation. They go every part of Zambia. BBC, there is no limitation. CNN, there is no... Why should Radio Phoenix be limited by some minister? Why should movie TV be limited? Those are the things my dear sister is talking about, accountability, where you, because you are a Zambian, you have given limited access of where you can broadcast. You, because you are a Zambian movie TV, you can only broadcast up to Kalingalinga. And yet Sky is foreign, CNN is foreign, Air France is foreign, all Frank radios. There is no limit. That minister of information is so scared. He's a toothless bulldog, so scared to touching them. They come here as they like. They don't even pay the license.
We have the laws being reviewed in as far as the media laws are concerned.
Why should they review the law when they have not reviewed for BBC, CNN, and Sky? Why should they only reviewing for our own black radio stations? Why don't they make, when they are reviewing, include the Sky, BBC, CNN, and everybody? Why should it only be Zambians who should suffer? Why should only we Zambians be absorbed instead of us absorbing other people? And this is the main reason where you, mass media, you say you are reviewing the law. Who is going to review the law? Is the new minister capable of reviewing any law?
Well,
and for example, today, we can't have this discussion with my dear sister on ZNBC, on radio ZNBC. But here we can have this discussion. And yet that thing has a wider coverage all over the country. But my sister and myself, unless we are going to say Mr. Mwanawasa is very good, New Deal government is very good.
What are you going to do, Mr. President, in case you came into power? Can you put it on record, promise the
I'm telling you, within 90 days, the media, let them compete. People must have competition. Once there is competition, and I have promised, parastatals, 25% will go to the workers. Let them compete, because it is the competition. If you look at me, the Post has been bashing me. When they started, there used to be 8-10 articles in the Post. I also bash them. When they bash me, when they overbash me, I take them to court. When I overbash them, they take me to court. So you find that's the competition we need. And when PF takes over, within 90 days, Radio Phoenix we will encourage Radio Phoenix even to go to Zimbabwe and South Africa, because we want people in there to know what we are doing, just as Sky News is coming here and the SAB. Why should the SAB come here as a monopoly and we can't go to South Africa?
So you are simply saying the laws that are being proposed in terms of reviewing the media laws are going to... You don't
need law. All you need is a policy to say the sky is the limit. Go as long as you have resources.
But
why do you want the law?
Media can be a danger.
Media can only be a danger when the leader is a danger himself. When the leaders become dangerous, the media becomes danger. When the leaders is understanding, because the media corrects us. The more they confront you, the more they pound you, the more they bash you, they make you a good person. But don't wash your dirty linen under the carpet, because when they come and blow at Muchwembati without Tengelamafina Muchironda, because ZNBC cannot even show that the police are beating street vendors. They are on ZNBC, and those people are paying 3 pin.
Okay, we'll come to that. Madam Macmillan, as the NGOCC, the church has practically, as the president of PF has thus indicated, the church has demonstrated the ability to manage and improve people's welfare. It appears that politicians, especially those in power, always, tend to not to appreciate this. Why don't we give it a time? Say, church leaders, they are now welcome to participate in the issues of governance, even becoming the president, vying for presidency. Why should it be a taboo? And people start saying it should go back to the pulpit, not the politics.
But
why who said only politicians
like
should become leaders?
And Mr. Nevers,
what's your point?
Yeah, I said earlier on that there are many actors around this issue of governance. Okay, it's not just the government and people who are already in government. It's not just members of political parties. People can contribute to governance from wherever they are stationed in their lives. And people can move around from where they are stationed to another place in their life. So if there's somebody in the church who wants to pursue a political career in terms of being a member of a political party or being a member of parliament, then they should be able to do that. There should be no limitations around that. Okay, the church has been for many years in Zambia and in other places of the world a very strong pressure group, and of course, as Mr. Sata says, the church has got the largest following in this country. Almost every Zambian belongs to some church or other.
Yeah.
So the church is a very powerful entity. But it is the same church members who are also members of political parties. It is the same church members who are also members of non-government organizations. So basically we are talking about the same people. And for me, really, it is everybody who is a Zambian, rallying behind what it is that they believe in, and deciding that as a people, they have this constituent power and to exercise that constituent power. For me, that is really the bottom line. As long as people sit there and feel that it is the responsibility of that political party or that non-government organization or that church body to push these issues, then we are never going to get anywhere. It's the responsibility of every Zambian. So everybody has to find themselves in a place, in an organized place, where they are pushing the things that they believe in. And then we'll have some movement.
Mr. Chura, just addition.
Yes, Mr.
Just addition. You see, when I was Minister of Health, I knew very well the church had 832 rural health centers when the government had only 500. I used the church and I signed a memorandum of understanding for all the entire church where they had the ownership, I had possession. I provided the staff, medicine, money for everything. And all the equipment which UTH received, the church also received. When I was in local government, the church is everywhere. For us to allow governance, I included the church. And I did not discriminate, regardless of which church was more prominent in that area. And you find that we had Cyprus. We had an archbishop who was president of Cyprus. But at the moment, our church, some of these emerging church leaders who have want to become presidents, from when we look from their background, they will be a disaster president. But I still think the civic organizations, although the civic organization, our friends have got an advantage over us, because civic organizations have got some support from somewhere else. Political parties do not have. Civic organization, the biggest NGO in the country is the church. That's the biggest NGO. And I think that we totally agree. What we have agreed here is let's find a formula, a quicker formula, not 200 and not 2020, a quicker formula to bring in an acceptable document to govern ourselves with. And the first thing we need to go, let's go for a referendum. If we are going for demonstrations, we want a referendum now. Kenneth Kaunda wanted to bring a referendum, but he made a shortcut to say he's just going to amend the constitution.
Mr. President, you did mention that we have this, and Madam here has mentioned that we have this situation where a lot of resources, are being not accounted for, and this is due to the fact that people who are charged with these responsibilities don't seem to be abiding to the rules or to be acting professionally. If you were the president, you are the president, and you are not there in the office to ensure that this one does this, this one does. When you have such a big house with overseeing so many people, sometimes it's very difficult to actually, intercept until it is done.
I don't agree.
Don't you think?
No, I don't agree. When I was minister for 2 years in health, nobody stole because there was job security. But when you can spend $22.5 million government money to give to a client of some president, when you are going to waste $20 million on winter maize, why shouldn't others also do the same? If you create job security. Once you create job security, people are scared of being dismissed. Today, people are not scared of being dismissed. Even if you say I'll fire you, say fire me. Because there is no job security. Somebody must enjoy the job. When you are at Radio Phoenix, you must enjoy the job. There must be better conditions of service. There must be transportation. There must be accommodation. There must be money in lieu of rent or housing allowances. Those are the things which make somebody, the lady will work 24 hours and start dozing where she is. There must be job security. Once we want constitution to protect ourselves as leaders, but let's create job security. All this poverty, all this street vending is poverty because there is no job security. There is not. If you and I,
Mr. President, what exactly do you mean when you say there is no job security? Is it a situation where someone can be appointed and removed at any time?
No, what I'm saying is people apply for a job, and when people apply for a job, they don't give to the best person. Today at the university, they are saying all those with brilliant results today can only apply to go to university next year. What do you expect will happen to these children who finish school in December and they have to wait for all full year? Now, job security is, in every job, if it's civil service, you go to civil service, you start climbing up, clerical officer, up to permanent secretary, you retire. But not when Michael Sata comes, he goes to Chiturika village, go and bring his relatives, appoint them permanent secretaries, under secretaries, ambassadors. If me who have been left out, who is not an ambassador, what remains? For me, if I have to make a decision, to protect the Chinese, I'll do that. If I have to make a decision to protect the Lebanese, I'll do it. Because there is no job security.
Even a job to protect the Zambians, you can do it.
But which Zambian is protected? Is it not Zambians who are being beaten on the streets as street vendors?
But I mean, when it comes to the issues of street vending, I think I'll come back. Let me try to bring in Madam Macmillan to the views that you have just raised, Mr. President. Madam Macmillan, the President here is saying that job security is the issue, and I did ask him issue is key, and I did ask him the question as to, honestly, what should the government do, and especially the President himself is being blamed when he has you and me as the citizens and charge us with the responsibility to oversee these issues. And you are saying the Constitution is a problem. Are we satisfied with the submissions that are in the draft constitutions that when it is implemented, honestly, we are not going to be singing the same song?
Okay, the issues of security, job security, and so on, they border on the subject of good governance. Because if people do not have job security, then of course they are ought to abuse their positions and to be corrupt. And so I think one of the key things that we've spent our time discussing and examining in the past 2 to 3 years actually has been the issue of corruption and abuse of office, that these things have got to be rooted out of our public service and other institutions so that we can actually achieve the objectives that we have set for ourselves as a nation. Now, in respect to the Constitution, I said earlier that the Constitution is the ground norm of our legal system. Everything that happens in the country rests upon the Constitution. If we have a bad Constitution, we will have a bad public service. We will have a bad of everything else, okay? The way the country is going to be governed is enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution tells us how if we don't attend to those issues, all of these problems we are talking about, corruption and so on, they are going to continue. They're not going to stop because the structure of how we are governing ourselves is the one that is at fault, and we need to deal with that in the Republican Constitution.
Mr. President, you mentioned that the Constitution.
No, let me first differ with let me differ with
you can react to that.
I want, you see, she has never been in government. From what we have seen today, in the last 10 years, there has been more stealing of government money because the people who have come have nothing. They have no allegiance to the government.
In the last 10 years,
in the last 10 years of Levi Mwanawasa, the last 10 years of Levi Mwanawasa, there has been more stealing. The Auditor General has reported because you have brought people from outside. Now, can you imagine if President Mwanawasa was given the power to appoint a government from outside Parliament? There would have been nothing. Even ourselves would have been stolen. So you find that what we need to do, let us look at because the separation of powers, those people are fighting for saying we want a government from out. They are looking for jobs. Those are the people who are saying we want a government from. Because in America, the president goes with 15,000 human beings to go and run government. And when he goes out with them. But the difference is Congress checks. For example, now Congress has made a bill where they want soldiers